going. So welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight or whatever time of the day and week you're joining us, whether it's live or watching the replay. If you're joining us either way, would you just pop in the chat and say hi to Coral and I? Coral is joining me tonight. She is our surprise guest. And just the other day, I felt the nudge from the Lord to reach out to Coral. And I said, hey, Coral, you want to hop on a Zoom with me and let's tell some stories and encourage some people? And she replied with yep, let's do it. Maybe with fear and trepidation. I don't know. But I just wanted to invite her to come and tell the story because it's been very beautiful for me on my end to watch what God has been doing with Coral. And so, Coral, thank you so much for hopping on the Zoom after a full day hanging out with the grandkids. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was a day full of 3 little girls, and so that was beautiful. And then to see your face and to always share about Jesus makes me so happy. So I will be brave when I'm not used to this, but yeah, I'll be brave.
You're doing great. You'll do great. Yeah. So just start off with how we first met. How did God connect the dots for you and I to first meet?
Yeah, I actually love this story because it's just such a miracle. So my sister-in-law, almost 3 years ago in July, sent me a link for your website just out of the blue. I don't think she even explained it. She just sent the link. And I thought, oh, wow, that looks really interesting, and just filed it away. I think I copied it and saved it, but that was in July. So, and then, so I work as a healthcare aide in home care with seniors. And of course that was 2021. So, we were full into, even with our little office, just the challenges of everything that was coming at us with the job going through that year. And so, I had that filed away, and I ended up remembering you. God reminded me about you almost 5 months later. So end of November. I was a couple months into disability, and I had never been on disability before, and my body was shutting down from the stress, and they had put me on short-term disability, which eventually became long-term disability. So I was feeling really broken. And I remember God bringing to my mind, oh, remember that prayer coach, as I was driving home after, and I thought, oh yeah, that's right, I should connect with her. And then that night I had a very powerful dream, and I knew it was God talking to me. So I journaled. I got up in the night and I journaled and everything. And then it was even funny when you responded to me, because how did you hear about me? And then when I shared my sister-in-law's name, you had never heard her name before.
No.
So it was just, it was so fun. And so I booked a session with you in January of 2022. And yeah, it started, that was the start of it. And so, yeah, after our first session, I remember feeling just this lightness in my heart. I had gone to counseling on and off for a while, and just I was used to feeling such heaviness after each session. Like, even though it was good, I had a very kind counselor, and just very caring, but just feeling this lightness because you had brought me right to Jesus, and everything in that session, I was talking to Jesus. So it was completely different for me, a different experience.
Yeah, just looking at a different focus. It is the beauty of, this kind of thing, is not necessarily do you have to go through and hash out the story. And in fact, there's a lot of people that often will say, oh, do I have to tell my story again? Maybe they've gone through a few different counselors, and instead it's just inviting the Lord and allowing you to perceive his presence and see what he does. It's been beautiful. Yeah. Wow. And so, okay, so share a little bit, because it's been beautiful to watch you journey from when I first met you and to see how much, so on disability, fatigued, exhausted, spent, and now you are full of life, full of energy, so much so like today you got to hang out with your grandkids and have the energy for it. And wow, so much has shifted when you even think about that, right? And so just kind of share a little bit even about the impact on what it's been like to hear God speak into just your life and the circles that you're in. What has that been like? Just hearing how he sees you and he's intentionally with you.
Yeah, wow. This is my favorite subject. Because you know what? I even think a couple weeks ago I talked to my sister-in-law, and she was telling me how she shared with someone else that we know that Coral is not the same person that she was, a year ago, 2 years ago, and my sister-in-law has known me for a long time. And for me, that is the most beautiful testimony.
Wow.
That's it, that someone who knows where I've been. And so I remember after that first session with you, you invited me to kickstart, I think it was a dream event. And I remember around that time, my body was covered with eczema from the stress. And around that time, I knew that God spoke to me. Even before then, I knew he spoke to me. Now I know he wants to speak to me about every single thing, and that's so fun. But back then in January of 2022, I remember sharing, and yeah, I was very emotional in that event. I was very, very raw. My heart was very raw, but I remember sharing that I felt like God was telling me that whenever I saw this eczema all over my body, to see it as his peace was filling me up. So then all that cortisol that had been stored in every cell in my body for so long had to get pushed out. So to see that eczema as a sign in my healing, instead of being mad at my body yet again, because it was horrible. It was everywhere, right? So just that transformation, to see it as a sign of my healing, which in your book is flip your fear. Like, it's just, Jesus wants to flip everything. So instead of me being mad, oh, I have more eczema popping up, to see it, oh, God's peace is pushing this out of me. So
wow.
I joined FCC, I think a month or two after that. And yeah, I was very, it was a big change for me, but everyone was so caring and just, yeah, everyone was so caring and encouraging, and you leading it, you were so encouraging, and just, it was always about Jesus. It was always, everything was getting into scripture, and just keeping our eyes on Jesus. And I knew that's what I wanted. So this, this has really changed every part of my life, every single day of my life. Like, every moment, I just want to talk about God. I just see him in everything. So
wow. Well, it's certainly been beautiful, like I said, to watch you completely be ignited with life. He is life, and he's totally in you, comes out, just exudes through you. And then just recently, so the recent book, God Show Me, what you see, you've contributed to that. So so you have written letters after being in prayer with the Lord and asking what's on his heart. And you've been able to pen letters in there. And I just was talking to someone again today in the local bookstore here. And she said, oh, Merri Ellen, I gave your book to another woman in the store the other day. And and said, pick a number. And so then the woman did. And sure enough, it was spot on. And so you were a part of that as far as your blessing. You and I get to team up with the Lord and share words of encouragement in a time when women continue to need to hear encouraging words and truth. And the common thing that I'm hearing time and time again is, wow, that word was exactly what I needed to hear. And many of them are from you with Jesus. And so it's been fun to just see how far you have shifted from feeling absolutely discouraged, right? When we first met, hopeless, to now you are so encouraged. It's coming out of you like crazy, and it's multiplying. Like one day you and I are going to be meeting these women all over the place who are reading these words of encouragement, and you and I got to team up together. Like, who knew? So that's been just incredible.
Yeah. Well, and I think I think I've shared this with you, but over a year ago, in one of our prayer Zoom sessions, one of your other prayer coaches, Alicia, had a word of encouragement for me, talking about words and how it would bring life to my heart, and life to my body. And so from then on, when you started asking for these words of encouragement when you were going on ministry to Georgia, or to
Belize,
camps, or Belize, I just knew, I thought, you know what, this is help, this is part of my healing. And I knew it was part of how my heart was healing. So it is so exciting, and to see what it's even doing in my that book, sharing it with people that are in my close circle, in my family, and to see them praying and God speaking to them, and them sharing with with their friends, and sharing with other people. Like it's just, that's the way God works when we give him all the glory. That's just always the way he works.
It's beautiful. So in this season that you're now in, so you've shifted from one season to the next, and what would you say, how would you describe God's characteristic that's really being highlighted, which, who he is for you in this season? What would you say has been kind of at the forefront?
Yeah, I love that question. This year I felt like is a year of new life for me. So him as a creator is so powerful. But you know what? For me right now, it's a redeemer, that he redeems.
Wow.
That he takes what you feel is so broken. And I think that's what we all need to hear. So I was looking up redeemer earlier. And one of the definitions in Britannica is a person who brings goodness and honor to something again. So when I think about people that I speak to and that I pray with and that are in my family, I want to be someone who looks for the best in people. I always want to be someone who does that, and to think about Redeemer, that Jesus is the one who brings goodness and honor where there's been brokenness, and when there's been despair and hopelessness. That is the most beautiful thing, that he wants to redeem. He never gives up on any of us.
No, not at all. Oh my goodness. As you know, you've heard me talk about that, ashes to beauty. It's one of my favorite themes too, just what the Lord does. And just the other day, you and I, we got to be a part of praying with another woman. And I think it was in that time that I found myself saying, God doesn't waste a wilderness experience. And so when someone comes to meet with me and their situation is, it looks hopeless, I have to actually hold in my excitement. I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing, just what God has on the other side. And I'm just hanging on. And, it's, how it says you should laugh and rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. And sometimes when someone comes in with mourning, I'm already rejoicing and seeing what's on the other side. And I have to just kind of slow down. They are not ready to rejoice. And so then I'd be like, Lord, help me here, because I can already see the hope that he has. And even like when I'm getting ready to meet with someone and I know the situation because they've shared it ahead of time, and this is the first meetup. And in the beginning, okay, hearing their story or reading their story, I'd be like, oh my goodness, I have no clue how to help this person. And the Lord would say, well, that's good, because they're not coming to see you. Right. And so he would put me in my place right away. And so then I would shift to, okay, Lord, I'm excited to see what you have for this person. And time again, I'm just in awe of how good he is. He totally loves to do that. Flip, like you talked about, flip your fear. And in that book, that the chapter, flip your fear. And so now anytime there is something that looks dark, or, there's panic or whatever, I get excited, because it is an opportunity for God to reveal how good he is at flipping. Just look at the cross. It looked pretty hopeless. And 3 days later, it's just been, it's just amazing. So it's been the story of my life and many who come and meet. And so it's just been beautiful just to see the transformation in you. And now, I think to see how hopeless you were at the beginning. And now here you get to share hope with those who are hopeless in the place that they're in. Like, come on. That's what could be better than that. It's so good. It's so good.
Sounds like it came out of scripture, right? Like when we think about the people that we love to study in the Bible, when we look at, well, and of course we see what happened, but when we think about where God brought them from, that he he loves to take what the world considers foolish, what the world considers weak, right? And because it's all about him. So yeah, it's the most exciting thing. And but like you're talking about, when we see the pain around us, because I do see in my job a lot of pain, a lot of depression, a lot of loneliness and anxiety. And for me now, to see it as a call to prayer, it's reminding me. I think over a year ago, thinking, oh, is that my anxiety coming back? I feel this heaviness when I'm here, but thinking, oh, this is a call to prayer.
Right.
And
it's good.
And of course, like your book, asking God, how do you want me to pray for this person? How do you want me to bless this person? And so, I think I've shared that with you before too, but I feel like for me, praying without ceasing can be every single thought, is just me talking to God about everything that's happening around me. And yeah, we do feel heaviness. And those of us who are, have hearts that see the pain around us, we will always see it, but to see it as, Jesus is right there beside me. I pray that he goes into everyone's home before me. And so I just see him opening doors before me. And yeah, sometimes life gets busy, but just to know he's there in all the busyness. And
yeah. Wow. It's just beautiful. Even to what you describe of when you feel heaviness around you, to not be, oh my goodness, this is me and it's coming back, but to pause and ask the Lord, I sense this heaviness. Where's it coming from? What do you want me to know? How to pray? Is then shifting it into it's intercession. So you don't become overwhelmed by it, And, you know, so many, the Lord keeps sending me these beautiful women who have hearts that are bigger than their bodies. And so my favorite thing is to lead women like you who care deeply, to recognize that's not necessarily them. It's they're feeling what's happening and what is around them in the place and the atmosphere that they're in, but to pass it back to the Lord and only carry what the Lord is saying. Yeah, you're to carry that. But usually it's just simply, as far as burden bearers, we are to carry that to him, and he's the ultimate burden bearer, and he can handle it, right? Whereas you, when you're caring for so many people, you can't take that home with you. And for me too, when I am done meeting with people, either face to face in my office or over Zoom, I have a little reminder in my phone to be like, wash off, like it's like the car wash off all that, you know, I've heard. Wash it off by the blood of Jesus. Holy Spirit, would you just hose me down, rinse me? I'm passing it back to you, Jesus. And I've been amazed at how good he is at, like, sometimes I completely forget the details of what was just shared. I completely forget because I cannot take it to bed with me. I cannot take it in my subconscious. I need to pass it to the Lord and go to bed instead with his peace. And then I have good dreams, right? Good dreams.
Yeah.
But it's been
Wow.
beautiful watching you in your dreams. You have some very cool dreams. And so it's been fun. Be like, hey, Lord, is this you speaking, and unpacking those together as well? It's been beautiful. So Coral, last question. Okay. And by the way, looks like Sue and Constance and Amanda are
Oh,
live with me
aw.
today. So they're plopping comments in the chat. Thanks, ladies. It's so good. So
Aw.
my last question for you, okay, when you think about where you were before we started to meet, um, perhaps a woman who is currently in that place that you were once in, what kind of word of encouragement would you want to share with a woman, or a man might be watching too? We got guys in this group too, but what kind of word of encouragement would you like to share with those who are listening tonight?
Yeah, and I'm so thankful that you sent me those questions. When the little girls were napping, I was just journaling through this because um hmm, yeah, I did write something down, so I'm gonna read it because
Yeah,
I
go for
think
it.
that probably a lot of people have been
Mm,
through somewhat of what I've been through. So
mhm,
yeah. So I wrote, years ago, I was going through one of the most difficult times of my life. Isaiah 43, the whole chapter became very,
mm,
very special to me. First, we are told that the one who created us is speaking to us and not to fear. Second,
mm,
we are told that our kinsman redeemer, there's that word again,
mm,
redeemer, will
mhm,
rescue us. We are reminded that he calls us by our name and he
mm,
knows us intimately. So each and every line is beautiful, and we're studying. We are reminded in verse 4 that we are cherished and precious. We are loved dearly, and the Lord wants to honor us. In verse 18 and 19, we're reminded to stop dwelling on the past because the Lord is doing something new, something
mm,
unheard of. For even now it sprouts and grows and matures. Don't you perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and open up flowing streams in the desert. So this is a promise for anyone who is searching for hope. You can be 18, 48, or even 98. One of the things that most of us look for is someone who values us
mm,
and wants to spend time with us. We want to know that we matter. You matter, my friend. You are loved dearly, whether you wake up to snow this morning like me, or you feel like you're walking through a parched desert. God is speaking to you. He will rescue you. He already is. He's asking you to look again with eyes of hope. He is doing something brand new, and he's so happy to do it with you.
That's so good. Thank you for that. Yeah, I love that. Verse 19 is really standing out. I'll make a pathway through the wilderness. No kidding. I love it. Oh, Coral, thanks so much for joining me and hopping on here. And those of you who are watching, whether live or on the replay, and if any of this is resonating, feel free to just share in the chat. And if you have questions for Coral too, feel free to put them in the comments. Coral, why don't you share where you're located? Whereabouts in the world do you live? Because I realize,
That's right. Talking about snow.
Yes, no, yeah.
So I am in central Alberta in Canada. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have similar accents. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's fun. So yeah, I'm between Calgary and Edmonton in Alberta, and I'm closer to the mountains, so I've got a view of the mountains. But yeah, I'm an Albertan now.
That's awesome. So I thank you again, ladies and men who are joining us. And Coral, it is so beautiful to journey with you. Thanks for hopping on, and I look forward to seeing you this week in FCC.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.
Good night.